Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Bethany and today I'm going to be sharing how to make delicious San Marzano tomato sauce. This is an everyday sauce that you can use in pastas, baked ziti, lasagnas, any of your favorite Italian recipes. And it's a sauce that is slowly simmered for several hours to develop a really rich and deep flavor. This was actually the first recipe that my mom taught me how to make, so I'm really excited to share it with you because it's a special one. So let's get into it. So the most important ingredient in a San Marzano tomato sauce is going to be the tomato. When you're making an authentic San Marzano sauce, you want to use DOP certified San Marzanos, and this is ensuring that these are true San Marzano tomatoes. Now, what's so special about these tomatoes? They're supposedly the best tomatoes in the world because they're grown in the region of Campania, Italy, and it's a very volcanic soil, so it makes the tomatoes actually really rich in sweetness and very delicate in its consistency and texture. So to get true San Marzano tomatoes, you want to make sure that it's a DOP certified label. So I have some brands right here, just Rega and a few others. All of them have the seal of authenticity and letting you know that they are grown in the region of Campania. Or you can go for a higher quality peeled tomato, either from Italy, or there's some good quality ones coming out of California. So I have a few brands here. I love this brand. It's actually by the brand Jovial. And by the way, none of this is sponsored. These are just brands that I use and enjoy. This was actually the cheapest tomato out of all of these. I think it was like two something, under $2.50. That was on sale, and these are Italian peeled tomatoes, high quality and organic. And then there's Bianco di Napoli, and I believe that these are California tomatoes. So this is not Italian peeled tomatoes, but it's a high quality California tomato. So there's some options for you to use. Now let's get into making the sauce. So the first thing that we want to do in prepping the sauce is get the garlic ready. And this recipe requires quite a few cloves of garlic, about 8 to 10, just depending on the size of them. And there's no onion in this recipe. And that's just because it's the way that my mom made it. We always just use garlic. And I know some people are gonna tell me, we don't use that many garlic cloves. Everybody is gonna make sauce differently, and this is just the way that my mom taught me how to make it and the way she learned. And I think that the garlic just adds a really nice delicate flavor to the sauce, but over the years we have added onion, and so if you would like to add an onion, I always leave that as an option on the recipe. So we're gonna finely chop the garlic cloves. So now that that's minced, we're going to get our pot ready. And I have just a stainless steel pot here. That's what my mom used growing up. I do love using my Dutch oven for other sauces, but I think for a tomato sauce, I just like using stainless steel. You don't want to use anything that is like a non-stick or a cast iron. My other cast iron pot is enameled inside, so that can take it, but anything that has cast iron in it, that can actually affect the acidity in the tomatoes. And we're gonna get this over a nice medium heat. We wanna heat the pan up before we put the oil in. So now we're gonna put our oil in the pot. Then we're gonna add our garlic. And this is only gonna cook for 30 to 90 seconds just because we don't want the garlic to burn. And when you put your garlic in, you wanna make sure that your tomatoes are ready to go because you gotta put those in before it burns. If it's about to burn and you don't have the tomatoes ready, just remove it from the heat and hopefully you can save it. So we're gonna put the tomatoes in, and I'm putting them in whole because San Marzanos are actually really delicate and tender, and I like a more thicker and chunky sauce. So I leave the tomatoes whole because they actually break down beautifully while they cook. And this sauce is gonna cook for several hours. So it gives it time to break down. But if you like a more smoother sauce, you can use your hands to break these down or pulse it a few times. And I just like to leave them whole, keep the integrity of the tomato, and they naturally break down over time. Now for the tomato paste, a lot of recipes would want you to cook off the tomato paste before you add the tomatoes, but we're using a different type of tomato paste today. So we're using a sun-dried tomato paste by the brand Amore. And this is a secret ingredient that my family always used. This was actually an ingredient my Aunt Valerie shared years ago that she found. And because this tomato paste is using sun-dried tomatoes, it's not super tomatoey and acidic like regular tomato paste. You won't need to cook this off like you would a regular paste. I have a tube already opened. We're going to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of this. And this is going to really richen the sauce. That's what paste typically does. It really adds a beautiful layer of flavor to the sauce, but also helps thicken it. And now we're just gonna mix the paste in with the tomatoes and the garlic. So before we get the sauce cooking, we're going to add a little Italian tip or trick to keep the acidity of the tomato sauce at a minimum. We're going to add a carrot and we're gonna peel it first. And the sweetness of the carrot really releases into the sauce and helps balance the acidity of the tomatoes. There's really nothing worse than having a tomato sauce that just tastes really acidic and kind of sour instead of that delicious sweet flavor that you really want in a sauce. So we're just gonna peel it and then we're gonna cut off the stem. And we're just gonna take the whole carrot and plop it in there. I remember when my mom would make this sauce growing up and I would just see like whole carrots in the sauce. I'm like, what is this carrot doing in here? And now I get it. She didn't explain that to me until I got older, but yeah, it's kind of weird seeing tomato sauce cook with carrots in it. And then another little trick that I like to do just to add a little bit more flavor into the sauce is using a small Parmigiano Reggiano rind. I keep these in my freezer, I have tons of them. And it's a perfect little Italian trick to adding a little bit more depth of flavor to your sauce. You just take this and you put it in the sauce, and what it does is it softens. It won't melt. It will just soften and release delicious flavor into the whole sauce. And then that's another thing that you'll discard at the end. Next, we're gonna just season this with a generous pinch of salt. And notice we're not putting any sugar in this. We don't need sugar for a good Italian sauce. The tomatoes are naturally sweet, so they should be doing that on their own. And also, we're gonna let this cook for a few hours, and that is what really helps give a sauce really sweet and rich flavor, and that's really what gives it a flavor that sets it apart from other recipes. And notice we haven't put any herbs in at this point, and that is because my mom taught me to always put the herbs in at the end. And that's just because she found that the herbs could sometimes make the sauce a little bit bitter because it's cooking with the sauce for so long. And I also just think that at the end, the herbs add such beautiful brightness to the sauce. So that's why I recommend leaving them to wait at the end. So now we're gonna cover the sauce and let it cook for about 3 hours. And in that time, you'll wanna stir this every so often. So my mom typically would set a timer for about 30 minutes, and whenever it went off, I had to go and stir it, or someone in the family had to stir it. It was the sauce timer. So what I like to do is just stir it every 30 minutes at least, just so that the bottom isn't burning and you can kind of keep the sauce moving so it's cooking evenly. And yeah, so you'll want to keep that on the lowest setting. And once we're done, we'll add the herbs and serve it with some pasta. Okay, so the sauce is done, and as you can see, the tomatoes that we left in whole have broken down beautifully, so there's no need to chop them up or anything. I mean, at least if you like a little bit of a chunkier sauce, but if you like it completely smooth, like I said, you can either pulse them, use a hand immersion blender, whatever you want, but I like a little bit of a texture in the sauce. So this is perfect. Now we're going to fish out the carrot and the Parmesan rind that we have in here. My carrot actually broke in half, so. Okay, now that we're done with that, we can chop the herbs. So I have some fresh basil and fresh oregano, mostly fresh basil. We're gonna do about 2 to 3 tablespoons of chopped fresh basil and 2 teaspoons of fresh oregano. Again, we're not using dried. I definitely don't think that sauce is the time or place to use dried herbs. I think fresh is best. And if you want the herbs to cook a little bit with the sauce, what I like to do is put them in 30 minutes before I'm ready to serve it. So it sits on the heat for just a little bit of time so that the herbs can kind of cook into the sauce. Now we're gonna add these. Now we're gonna mix the herbs in with the sauce. I have my cousin here, Victoria, to taste test. She just popped in. We're about to go to figure skating lessons. You can tear this off or try it, and we're gonna taste it. It looks amazing. It's really thick in consistency. You know, some pasta sauces can be a little watery.
Yeah, it looks
good.
Thick. It doesn't look water.
Mm-hmm. And it tastes a little spicy from the black pepper. Unexpected.
It's got like a pinch of spice, but that makes it like good.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it the flavor.
Good. That's good. And you like it with the bread?
Yeah.
But this tastes amazing. It's delicious. It's rich from cooking for so long. And we only cook this for 3 hours. You can cook this for even up to 5 hours. My mom, when she made this, it would cook all day. So, you know, you can do whichever one. The longer it cooks, the better the flavor is. But we cooked this for 3 hours and it tastes amazing. It's great. I love the fresh herbs added at the end. And yeah, it's delicious. And that's how you make my family's San Marzano tomato sauce. I grew up with this sauce in so many family recipes, and I just feel like it's a recipe that I have a lot of memories attached to. And so I hope that you guys enjoy this recipe as much as my family does. This is, again, a marinara sauce that you can layer into pretty much any Italian dish that you love and just replace it with your store-bought sauce. It tastes absolutely delicious, and it's seriously my favorite way to make homemade marinara sauce. We appreciate you watching, and we hope that you enjoy this recipe. It can be found on our website at asimplepalate.com. So we'll catch you on the next recipe.